Hi everyone, it's Nikki. I wanted to talk today a little bit about my healing journey and how it relates to the idea of living vicariously through other people. So, growing up, I saw this trope a lot of times in books and movies where an adult would be living vicariously through a child. Specifically, parents would live vicariously through their children. A common example I saw when I was younger in dance movies is that maybe the parent really wanted to be a dancer when they were a kid and they didn't get the opportunity to be a professional dancer. So now they're pushing their child to be a professional dancer when maybe the kid doesn't even want to do that. And this always bothered me. And because not only because it's not fair to the kid, but I felt like it was a very defeatist attitude because when adults were trying to live vicariously through children, it's kind of like they're saying that it's too late for me. It's too late for me to become a dancer myself. So the closest that I can come to my own dream of being a dancer is to coach and train a kid to be a dancer because it's too late for me. And that just bothered me a lot. I mean, I've always had my own dreams that I was never going to give up. And if I wanted to be a dancer as an adult, I would pursue being a dancer as an adult. I would work towards being a dancer. It would never satisfy me to just train or coach a kid into doing what I really want to do myself. And, this is nothing against teaching. I think that's great to teach and to coach people to do things that you like to do. I just consider that to be its own thing. I don't feel like teaching someone else how to be a dancer could ever replace being a dancer yourself. I think those things are just separate. And this trope bothered me a lot, especially when I was a teenager, when I was getting close to adulthood. I was approaching adulthood. I felt like I was about to cross over that threshold where if I didn't do everything I want to do, if I didn't have all my ducks in a row, I didn't do exactly what I want to do with my life by a certain time, then I would cross that threshold where I would be expected to step back and say, "Oh, well, I guess it's too late for me to do this. I guess I better just sort of pass the baton and train a kid to do it instead." And I was never willing to do that. I just said, "No, there's no way I would ever do that." Or so I thought. So I wrote a book called Redefining Positive: How to Use Validation to Be a Positive Force in People's Lives. You can find it on Amazon. And this book is about how to validate people's feelings and how to be consent conscious. And the inspiration behind this book was the trauma that I went through when I was in college. I believed that by writing this book, I would be able to prevent stories like mine from happening. I think that if we all learned how to be validating and be consent conscious from a young age, and that was how we all treated each other, I don't think my story would have happened because I don't think that I would have been mistreated if everybody had been validating and consent conscious. It wouldn't have happened. And this is very important to me to help other people to not go down the path that I went down. That'll always be important to me. At the time when I was writing this book, I was completely focused on it. I just making sure that I could use my story to help other people to not go down that same path. And, it was a number one focus in a way that I cared about this book more than anything else. It was my life's work. I really wasn't working on other things in my life. I wasn't in therapy. I wasn't building community. I wasn't really doing anything to heal myself other than writing this book. I felt like I was going to heal through writing this book about my experience. And you know teaching validation and consent consciousness felt like my life's work, not just to be a writer in general, but it felt like this is my life's work. After I published my book in October of 2018, I had a huge emotional crash afterwards. I did not feel good at all. Didn't feel like I was living my dream. I felt the complete opposite. It was a nightmare. And one of the reasons for that, there are multiple reasons, which I'll talk about in other videos, but one of the reasons for that is because I believed that I could heal vicariously. I believed that if my book helped other people, it would make me feel like I was getting to heal also through them, kind of the same way as someone feeling like they were getting to dance on Broadway because their child was, or because someone they coached was getting to do it, when really deep down it's what you want to do. Um, I know that my book helped people and it's still helping people, but it didn't help me, and I did fall into that trap of living vicariously through others, and I think what it really made me realize when I thought about it was that I had given up in a way. Like, I felt like after I made that one bad decision in high school to go away to college when I didn't want to, and to go to this specific college when I didn't really want to go to that type of school, it felt like I had sort of crossed this threshold where I could never go back, where it was too late for me to have the life that I wanted, for me to be the person I want to be on the right track that I was already on. Because I was happy before that. I was like already on the path I want to be on. And it felt like it was too late to get back. It was too late to direct myself back into the place I was in when I was younger. And I felt like the closest that I could come would be to prevent other people from having the same thing happen to them. Now, I recognize that this is very different than the example about being a dancer, because my book actually has helped people. And I think that, using your story to help people, that's completely different than, say, like pushing a child into a career that they don't want because you wanted it. But in my case, what's similar is that it was still me giving up on my own dreams and thinking that I couldn't get back. And since then, I've really been working on getting my life together. I've been working really hard in therapy on recovery, on getting back to being the person that I was before the trauma happened. I've been working on building community, building, like, meeting friends, and really just working on my life in all those ways. And using my story to help others is just one very small component of all of my healing journey. It's not everything. And I'm not saying to don't use your story to help people, because I think that's great. I think it's awesome when people use their stories to help others. And I will probably always be using my story to try to help people, but I just make sure that when you're doing that, you're not giving up on your own dreams, that you're also, like, working on your own life and getting your own life where you want to be, because that's the big component that was missing for me. Because deep down, I never wanted to devote my entire life to teaching validation and teaching consent consciousness. Like, that's not all of who I am. There's so much more to who I am, and like what I want to do and all of that. And that focus was, in a way, giving up on the idea that I could have what I really wanted. So I would just encourage you, if you are using your story to help others, like, that's great. Just make sure that you are also doing the work to, get where you want to be, and make sure that it's not a substitute for having the life that you really want, that it's not something where you're giving up because it's not too late. Like, there is no threshold where the best you can do is to live vicariously through someone else. And I certainly will never be crossing that threshold again.